Alright, welcome back to the next video in this command line series basics course. This is aimed for brand new Linux users, Windows expats, or anybody that just really wants to become familiar with the command line. We're going to keep it basic throughout the rest of the playlist, just like we have been. So let's go ahead and get started. And our first command for today is actually a text-based editor known as Nano. It is usually installed, especially on Type 1 Linux distributions. It comes by default. And to invoke it, we just type nano. That will open the editor and creates a blank file. However, let me go ahead and hit Control X to close out of this. We can also actually open a text file that already exists with it by simply putting the text file behind it, and it will open for us. Okay, so basically what we're going to do here is we will go ahead and open that back up. And as you can tell, it's just a bunch of random gibberish from a previous video. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the basics of how to use this. We can add a line simply by hitting enter. It moves everything down one spot. If you look at the top of the window up there where it says text.txt, you notice that there's now an asterisk up there. That means that this file has been edited and has not been saved. That's this right here. So once you see that, we need to make sure that we either save or cancel without saving if we edit it by accident. So up here, let's just go ahead and put some more stuff. And I think that's going to be about it right there. Okay, so basically what we're wanting to do here is we're going to say this is like a real text file or whatever. If we want to put another line in, we just hit enter from the end of that. Okay, we can also hit backspace to take that back out. We can hit Control K and it completely deletes that line. And that was done using one of these shortcuts, as you can see down here at the bottom in this menu. Right here in the middle where it says Control, that's the up caret, is Control K, which will cut. U will paste. Backslash replaces. W will search. O writes the file but does not exit. You can also undo, you can redo, you can locate, you can do all kinds of stuff with this. This also has different modes in it too. For example, let's say we wanted to replace all instances of 567 with 756. So what we'll do is go ahead and we'll hit a Control W, because that's what we're going to do is write, and then we're going to do a Control R to search, and we could do 567 is what we're wanting to replace, and we said 756 is what we wanted to replace it with. And when we hit enter, it will find the first instance. Do you want to replace this instance? Yes or no. Or you can choose all or cancel. Control C will cancel. Let's say we want to replace this instance, so we're going to hit yes. That one. Do we want to replace this one? Yes or no. We can hit yes. And it down there says it replaced 2 instances. Okay. Well, that's one way to do it. You can do the Control W and search. If we do that again, you notice that down here at the bottom, it changes the menu around. It's dynamic. It changes with whichever option you wanted to choose. Let's go ahead and cancel that though. You don't have to do the Control WR. You can actually do this one right here, which is the Control Backspace. If you do Control Backspace, it will ask you what do you want to replace, and that's going to be 756, and we're going to replace it with 567, and we're going to hit enter, and this time I'm just going to choose A for all, and notice it still replaced 2 instances. It does the same thing. The reason why I'm showing you this is because there's a couple different ways to do things. There's always more than one way to do stuff, and it's important to understand that you find the workflow that works for you. If you find that it's easier or better for you to do the Control WR, then do the Control WR. If you find it better to do the Control backslash, do the Control backslash. And this is kind of a side note. It is a little bit of a rant, because one of the things you'll notice out here in the field, especially when you're watching reputable YouTubers, is they say, well, don't pipe cat into grep, or don't do anything like that. They're just telling you what to do. This is Linux. It's your path, not theirs. So if you find that it's easier to do that, then do that. Anyway, moving on. So to save this without exiting, you just do Control W and it will pop up here. We can rename the file if we want, but if we're happy with that, we're just going to go hit yes or hit enter, and it saved it. Notice that little asterisk went away. Okay, so that's it on the basics of how to actually use Nano. You can always man Nano. Now to exit out of this, it's Control X. Let's say, for example, let me back up a little bit. Let's say we want to get rid of this line. Notice our asterisk come back, so we edited the file. We have unsaved changes. Now, you don't have to do Control O to save and then Control X to exit. That's 2 steps. You can do it that way if you so choose. That is up to you, like I've been saying. But if you just do Control X, it'll ask if you want to save. Yes. Not changing the file name, and you do both in one step. You save and exit. All right, so the next command we're going to talk about is cat. We've already learned how to do grep. So now we're going to show you cat, and we're going to show you what I was just talking about, whether you choose to do it this way or not. So we're going to go ahead and cat our text.txt, and that's going to print the file to the screen. Control L to clear. But I can also search grep I 567. Now this I in here just means case insensitive. In this particular case, I'm using numbers. There's no uppercase numbers. I'm just saying I don't even have to have that in there. I just normally do it because I'm normally searching for text. So that was muscle memory that caused me to do that. So this is what I mean. You're piping cat into grep. So the output of cat is going into the input of grep. Okay. So if you remember, this, I'll put it to the screen. We're going to output it to grep, and we're going to search for 567, and when I hit enter, it finds it. Okay. If you prefer to search this way, don't let anybody on the internet tell you that you can't, or this is dumb or stupid. Do it the way you want to. I'm going to show you another way to do this, though, and this is the way that they're probably telling you is better. Unfortunately, you're the only one that can choose what's better. But that's going to be grep, and again, I'm just going to use my -i because that's just me. That's my workflow. It works best for me. And then we'll put our text file in there. Now notice up here, this looks completely different, but it contains all the same stuff. We're just not catting out and piping it into grep. We're just doing a grep search of that text document. And I bet it's going to also output the exact same thing, 2 567s. So let's try it. Looky there. 2 ways to do the exact same thing. Whichever way works best for you is the way to do it. And if anybody tells you that you're doing it wrong, you point them back to this video and tell them to come talk to me. I'll straighten them out. So anyway, Control L. All right, touch. We're going to do the touch command next. What touch does, and by the way, you could always do man on all these commands. There's always a man page for all of these commands, including the options and things like that. Okay. So what we're going to do with touch is touch can be used to create a blank file, but it can also be used to change the last time a file was accessed. It changes the date the last time the file was used. So I can touch an existing file, and what that does is it changes the last time that file was accessed. It changes that timestamp to now instead of the last time it was touched. And it could be useful in some use cases. I personally don't find it all that particularly useful. I usually use it just to create blank files. Text2.txt. Now if we nano that, text2.txt, we notice that it's blank because that's all touch does is it creates blank files, and it also changes the last access timestamp on files. All right, so the next one we're going to do is one that a lot of people do first, and that is the ls command. I kind of saved it a little bit later down the road, so we're more used to dealing with files with, or I'm sorry, commands with optional outputs and the manipulation of the way the data is displayed. And in the first 4 videos of this series, we've already touched on that a little bit. So let's go ahead and look at the ls command. Also, you can man ls. That's got the instructions to it. So basically, in of itself, the basic use is just type ls and hit enter. And what it's going to do is it's going to show you the directories and the text files that are in the current directory that you're in. Now you can change the way that looks by using options like L, which is long list format. When you do that, it changes its output. Okay, so it will tell you certain aspects about this file here. In fact, let me do this right here. This text file right here, this text.exe, was last edited today at 10:51. It's now 10:53. So if I touch text.txt and clear the screen, and I'm going to pull that ls-l back up, you notice that the timestamp on it changed. That's all that touch command does as far as that goes. All right, so moving on though, so you have L, which puts it in long list format. This does look like a whole bunch of gibberish. For now, I want you to just pay attention to the formatting of this command. This stuff right here, it might look like it's written in Chinese. It's not. It's actually in English. Well, actually, they're flags that denote the attributes of the file or folder that's over here. But I'm not going to dive into this today. This has to do with file permissions, and we're going to touch base on that once we're done dealing with the basic file commands. Then we'll start getting into a little deeper and start talking about manipulating the permissions, and we'll see why this looks different than this in an upcoming video. So make sure you're subscribed, make sure you click the like button because the algorithm loves it, and make sure you ring that notification bell so you don't miss it when we talk about it. All right, anyway, moving on. So what we're going to do here is the next flag we're going to talk about is the H flag, and you can use these independently or combined together. I'm going to hit enter, and what it changes is this column right here. Okay, it's no longer 4.4096. It actually changed it to something human readable, which is what the H stands for, is human readable. And so this will be a little bit easier instead of, you know, a big old long string of numbers. You're like, I have no clue what size that is. You put H in there, it'll tell you, oh, well, it's a gigabyte. So it's not like, you know, really, really long. Another thing we can do on here is we can also, clear that out, we can also do a capital S, which what that will do is it will show, it will resort this, and it will sort it by file size. So the larger files and directories will be on top, and then the smaller ones will be towards the bottom here. As it turns out, this is also the same way as if we didn't have the S on there, because the files were listed in alphabetical order by size anyway. Okay, so another one we can do is the T, which just shows the last modified time, which is already implied in there to begin with, but it sorts it by last modified time. So remember, I just did the touch, and it moved it to the top of the list. Now I can touch text 2 and it will move that to the top of the list. So if I clear the screen and do that again, now text 2 is at the top because it's the last file that was edited. Okay, and now so for the last command we're going to do is it's a bit of a misnomer. You'll hear this throughout the community when you hear people talk about less is more when they're talking about file readers, and it's a misnomer because less actually has more functionality to it than the more command does, because it's newer than the more command. More and less do basically the same thing. You just have more flexibility with less. However, that is a more advanced topic, and we will get into that into the CLI advanced course. But for now, what we're going to do is we're just going to cat our text file. We're going to use the first one there, and then we're going to pipe that to less. So what this does is, instead of filling up the entire screen with a whole bunch of garbage, I mean, it just scrolls and scrolls and scrolls and scrolls, because cat doesn't stop at the bottom of your screen. Less will stop at the bottom of the screen. So as you can see there, we're at the end. I'm going to hit Q to quit. Let's go ahead and nano text some more so we get a better idea what's happening here. So we're just going to really run that all the way down. So I'm going to put a whole bunch of lines in there. Okay. I'm going to Control X. Yes, I want to save the buffer. I'm not going to change the file name, so I'm going to hit Enter, clear the screen, and now let's cat this out. Now it it started at the top. This is the very first line. This is line number 1. But it didn't scroll past the screen. It's got a blinking cursor on here now. So now you can go ahead and scroll up and down with your mouse, right? All the way down. You find what you're looking for, that kind of thing. What it does is it will cat the file to the screen. Less will stop it when it gets to the bottom of the screen buffer. So it allows you to advance. And for now, that's all we need to look at as far as less goes. This is also going to be a cue to quit. And that will wrap it up for this video. If you like these videos and like to see more like it, make sure you click like, subscribe, smash that notification bell, and we will see you in the next one.